This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So yeah, let's continue yesterday's session. Right. So it's not a Python in any object-oriented programming languages. In any object-oriented programming languages, such as right Java, Python, .NET, right .NET, etc. These are all called as what object-oriented programming languages. In all of them, we will develop applications. By using all of them, we can develop small scale applications and larger scale applications. As the larger scale applications, right, need to handle more amount of data, right? That's where we will store applications within the hard disk memory. And where they should be executed, they should be executed under the right RAM memory. Why? Where RAM is there, their OS will be installed. Where OS is the one who has to execute all the applications that are running in your mobile phone, all the applications that are running in your computer, right? So in your desktop or in your laptop or in your mobile phone, you're executing so many applications, right? So many games, so many mobile apps. They all will be executed by whom? Operating system. Where operating system will be installed, where RAM is there, there it will be installed. Okay. And whom we will ask to execute applications, honestly speaking, we will request, right? You're clicking on that app means what? If you want to play a game in your mobile, right, what you will do, you will click on it. You're clicking on that game means what? You are asking operating system to run it or execute it, right? In the similar way, right, if it is a Java application, right, whether it is a Java or if it is a application that is developed through some programming language, right? So if you want to practice Java program, all right, if you want to execute Java application or program or Python application or program, right, in your computer, what you have to do, you need to install that software. Why? Your Java is constructed as per Java syntax rule. Python is constructed as per Python syntax rules. So our rules, all right, the rule on which you constructed your program should be conveyed to the operating system there by the computer. Who will do that? That software will do that. Which software? Java software in case of Java programs, Python software in case of Python programs. So how Python software will comes into your computer? Whenever you want to practice any Python program, you will install Python software in your computer. At the time of installing Python software in your computer, you will get Python virtual machine along with what? Interpreter. Okay, along with interpreter. Together is called as what? Python software. This is. So at the time of installing Python software, where it will be installed, where operating system installed, there it will be installed. So where operating system will be installed, where RAM is there, there operating system will be installed automatically. Okay, so it is a Python program whom we will request. Yeah, right. Python. So Python program will be right given to whom? Python virtual machine, because Python virtual machine can understand Python syntax. And this Python virtual machine will inform to operating system thereby computer that this is Python program constructed according to the Python syntax rules. So Python is strictly syntax oriented programming language. For everything we have to follow the syntax. You should construct everything in Python according to the syntax. Sir, I want to create a variable, sir. For that you have to follow the syntax. Sir, I want to create a function, sir. You need to do it as per the syntax. Sir, I want to call a function, sir. Yes, you have to follow the syntax. So totally Python is a syntax oriented programming language. Your Java, C, C++. Every programming language will have their own what syntax rules. Okay, good, very good, right? So, right, in general, Python will be used for developing what? Larger scale applications, right? So where do we store larger scale applications? Within the hard disk memory. So this is the hard disk memory, and this side RAM memory it is. Okay, so together this is what computer memory, right? Okay, computer memory divided into hard disk memory and RAM memory. So here we are storing our application. Which application it is? ATM application. We stored our ATM application. Right, imagine to store the data of ATM application, how much memory is required? Totally 500 GB is required. Where the total hard disk memory is how much? 512 GB it is. Imagine. And RAM memory here is how much? 2 GB it is. Okay, good, right. So here out of 2 GB, 1 GB will be given for running the data related to operating system, and other GB will be given to whom? Python virtual machine to execute Python programs or applications. If Python virtual machine wants to execute any requested Python application or Python program, it should use only 1 GB. It should not ask more than that. Okay, fine. So now we are requesting. Right. This is what Python application. So what Python virtual machine will execute Python application. What is that? In our case, this is what ATM application. So we are requesting Python virtual machine to execute what Python application. Now, how do we request Python virtual machine to execute Python application? Along with the path where it is residing. I told you, right? We will develop Python application and we will kept them in the hard disk, right? That hard disk will have some path. So this Python virtual machine will be instructed to execute the specified Python application along with the path. So if you tell the path what Python virtual machine will do, Python virtual machine will try to load that application as per the given path. So it will load the application from a hard disk to RAM where Python virtual machine is running. So once the application loaded, right, how much memory is required to store the entire ATM application? 500 GB. How much is there with the Python virtual machine? Who loaded your application? Python virtual machine loaded your application. From where to where? From a hard disk to RAM where Python virtual machine is running. How Python virtual machine, right, determine that your application is kept in the hard disk? We will give, right, path of the application to the Python virtual machine. So then it will load. Okay, fine. So as Python virtual machine loaded your application, when Python virtual machine will load your application, whenever you request Python virtual machine to execute the specified Python application, then only it will load. If you don't tell, right, it will never load. If you don't swipe your ATM card, your details will never be pulled from a hard disk of that computer to the RAM, right, where your details need to be executed. The RAM where operating system and Python virtual machine are running, where your details need to be executed. Okay, fine. So now it loads the application. You requested Python application, Python virtual machine loaded it. But what is the problem? To store the data of entire ATM application is 500 GB is required, but with the Python virtual machine 1 GB only there. So it cannot accommodate. That's where, right, it will go for what? A dynamic loading, right? So this will go for a dynamic loading. So in dynamic loading, what will happen? Part of app will be loaded, right? So part of app will be loaded from where? Hard disk memory to hard disk memory to RAM memory, RAM memory where Python virtual machine is running at runtime or execution time. So execution time. Yes. So when it will be loaded during execution, this will be loaded. Okay, right. So now it is unable to load the entire application. That's where it is going for what? A dynamic loading. In dynamic loading, what will happen? Our entire application will be divided into parts. If there are 80 million customers for Bank of America, each customer will be divided as one part of the application. So now, right, what we will ask, so right? It's not possible to ask what entire application, right? We are not able to load it, right? Then we will request Python virtual machine to execute what? Python individual program. So group of programs is not working. Okay, group of programs is not working, right? So in this Python individual program, what will be there? Variables will be there. Along with that, functions also will be there. Okay, good. And this variable contains what? Data, right? Variable contains data. For that data, what is required? Memory allocation is needed. This memory allocation is called as what? Object or instance. Okay, object or instance. Whenever this object or instance created, then your functions will start accessing data from that object. See, this is what is happening in case of any application from any programming language. So if object is created, from that object functions will access data. Functions will start working, right, at runtime. At execution time only functions will start. Sir, at execution time, what will happen, sir? What is this object or instance, sir? It's a memory allocation. For example, your program, you created a program like this. In your program, right, print x. Print is a function which is accessing data of the variable x. Okay, this is our program. Imagine, this is our program. Okay, na? Our program name is what? Some abc.py, na? Let's say, right, abc.py. Okay, great. And here you created one more variable, y equals to some 30. Okay, print y. Okay, some g equals to 2.3. Print g. See, here print is a function. When it will access data? At runtime or execution time only they can access data. So at runtime or execution time, what is happening? Right, for data 25, for data 30, for data 2.3, memory will be reserved within the computer memory. How? In terms of binary bits. First of all, how data will be stored in the computer memory? Data will be stored in the computer memory in terms of binary bits. Binary bits means what? Zeros and ones. Or data, any type of 14 types of data stored by the supported by Python will be stored in the computer memory at runtime in terms of what? Binary bits. Means what? Zeros and ones. Sir, how my value 25 will be stored in terms of zeros and ones? How my 30 will be stored in terms of zeros and ones? But how my 2.3 will be stored in terms of zeros and ones? Okay. So for that, let me tell you a scenario. So zeros and ones is called as what? Binary code, right? By means how many? 2. By means how many? 2. Okay, so now we need to divide our 25 by 2. Now see, 212. I'm performing division here. 212, 24, and remainder is 1. So most of you, right, you might know about this division. Now see, 2 6 times 12, and remainder is 0. Okay, next one, 2 3 times 6, remainder is 0. Okay, next one, 2 1 time 2. Okay, remainder is 1 here. Now see how your value 25 was stored in the computer memory in terms of binary bits 1 1 0 0 1 it is. So I have taken from bottom to top, like this I have taken the values. 11001 it is. So how much 25 will be stored in the computer memory in terms of binary bits? Now how many binary bits are required to store, right, value 25 in the computer memory? 5 binary bits, right? Even computer can understand what binary code. So whenever data converted into binary numbers, then, right, a computer will start executing, means what, functions will start executing those binary bits. Okay, so how many binary bits are required here? 5 binary bits. In the similar way for 30, in the similar way for 2.3. Sir, in 2.3 dot is there, right, sir? How it will allocate memory? 2 is an integer, 3 is an integer. So Python supports totally 18 types of data, right? In that, string data is also there. Somewhere group of values also there, right? So everything, if it is a string, right? Right, if it is a string. So for example, in string, Vinith is there. In string, Vinith is there. Okay. So Vinith is what? It's a sequence of characters. So we have some ASCII value. Every character will have their own ASCII values. Okay, every character will have their own ASCII. Every character will have their own ASCII values. So that ASCII value is an integer that will be converted into zeros and ones. We have some ASCII value that will be converted into zeros and ones. I has an ASCII value that will be converted into zeros and ones. Okay, so they will be converted. So like that, 14 types of data supported by Python will be converted into zeros and ones. For that zeros and ones, computer will allocate memory, right, which is called as what? Object or instance. So in this case, your program contains 3 variables. For 3 variables, memory will be reserved, right, on the name of what variables. Imagine for variable x. Okay, I will show that also. It's not a big problem for me. So here how object will be created here. How object will be created here. Object means what? This one. Circle, right? Imagine this is a circle. So in this circle, right, 1 1 0 0 1 will. So on whose name this circle memory will be reserved? On the name of variable x. Yes. So this five bits of memory was reserved on the name of variable x. So you may have wondered, sir, I want to see exactly how much memory was allocated for storing value 25 in the computer RAM memory at runtime or execution time. I want to see how much memory was reserved for 30. I want to see how much memory was reserved for 2.3, or I want to see the memory rate allocations for 14 types of data. Sir, is there any option for us? Yes, Python supports one built-in function for that. If you use that built-in function, right, if we use that built-in function, it will tell you how much memory was reserved for it. Okay, right, so how computer memory will be measured? So the minimum memory unit is what? A bit. The minimum memory unit is a bit. So 1024 bits equals to 1 byte. 10 no, see, 1 byte equals to 8 bits. 1 byte equals to 8 bits. So here, to store value 25, how many bits are required? Right, 5 bits are required, right? 1 byte equals to 8 bits. Next one, 1024 bytes equals to 1 MB. Right, 1024 MB equals to 1 um, what is that? On megabytes, who will be there?
GB,
GB,
GB.
right? GB, right? Very good. 1024 MB, very good. Thank you. 1024 MB equals to what? 1 GB. Right, like that, there will be a count will be there. So the minimum memory unit is what? Bits. How data will be stored in the computer memory? In terms of binary bits. Why? Computers are designed to understand what? Binary bits. Honestly speaking, you have written your code in what? High level format, right? This is a high level code. This is the source code written by the programmer. In any programming language, the code written by the programmer is called as what? Source code. abc.py is what? Python source code written by a programmer. How it was written? It was written in a high level code. If you are able to read the source code of any programming language, that is called as what? High level code it is. Our code was written in high level, but computers are designed to understand what? Low level code. This zeros and ones is called as what? Low level code. Yes. As a programmer, you are writing what? High level code. This is what? High level code. Right? Which computer cannot understand this. But computers will understand what? Low level code. You are writing what? High level code. We need to convert high level code into what? Low level code so that computer can understand it. That's where you are installing what? Python software into your computer. So why are we installing Python software into our computer? To convert high level code into low level, which can be understandable to the computer. Now your value 25 is converted into zeros and ones. Now for zeros and ones, right, some memory will be reserved on the name of a variable x. It is exactly like how a flight ticket will be reserved for, right, a passenger, right, on the name of it, some ticket number, right, they will generate some ticket number where the ticket number will be linked to your name. Okay, right. So that flight management people don't know who are we. They know about how they will know about us through our tickets. For them, ticket is mandatory. Ticket number is mandatory for them. Okay, so how they will deal us through the ticket? They will deal us. So when you are boarding into the flight, right? So they will verify our ticket number, right? They don't verify the person name. So one seat will be reserved on the name of a tickets. The similar way, how memory will be reserved uh, for the data that is stored through the variable name. Okay, through the variable name. In the similar way, some amount of memory will be reserved for what? Y. Some amount of memory will be reserved for what? 2.3. So where memory will be reserved? Right, at unique locations. See, in a flight, if there are 500 tickets, 500 seats, 500 seats will be, right, 500 seats will be located at 500 unique locations. So each seat will be given one, right, number, one unique number, that is nothing but address of that seat. In the similar way, memory will be reserved for variable x at unique address. Memory will be reserved for value 30. Na? Okay, let's convert value 30 into zeros and ones. 1 minute. So how to? So 30 will be converted into zeros and ones, right? For that, again, we need to divide this 30 by 2. It is right. See, so 215 times 30, remainder is 0. To 7 times, right, 14, and the remainder is 1.
I have a question for you.
Please, please. Yeah, you can ask me.
Yeah, so as you said, memory will be stored in bits and bytes. So if x is equals to 25, so this 25 value will be stored, right? Basically, whatever the value in the variable we have will be stored, right?
One minute. I am focusing on writing this. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
good name, please.
We need.
Vinith. Okay, Vinith. Very good. 1 minute, Vinith. Give me 1 minute time. Let me finish this.
Okay.
Right, Vinith. You can ask me now.
So as you said, x is equals to 25. So
Hmm.
the value of x in the sense like 25 will be converted into bits and bytes and it is stored in a memory. So
Yes.
if this 25 can be anything, like string, float, or
Ah, very good.
any type of
Yes.
code.
Good, good. Yes, yes. You know, in our case, today it is 25. Tomorrow it can be a string. Tomorrow it can be a float. Tomorrow it can be a complex. That's what I am saying. It can be any of the 14 types of data.
Okay.
Okay, right. It
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
any type, right? Any of the 14 types of data. So one more object will be created here on the name of what? Variable y.
Okay.
And how many binary bits are required to store it? 1 1 1 1 0.
0. Yeah.
But 0, that is called as what? Again, object. So
Object.
in
Yeah.
the 25 will be stored in the computer memory in terms of 1 1 0 0 1, and 30 will be stored in terms of what? 1 1 1 1 0. In the similar way, 2.3. In the similar way, if any string is there, in the similar way any list is there, in the similar way any right? A set is there, dict is there, tuple is there, right? It can be any of the 14 types.
Okay.
Right, it can be any of the 14 types. In our program, it is a 2532.3, but in computer memory at runtime, that is what that will be
Object or
handled in
instance.
terms of what only zeros and ones. That is called as what object or instance.
Yes.
When you look at trainings outside, without telling this, right, they will explain. They will say that object will be created. They don't know what they don't tell, right, what is object.
Yes. I did
Because,
not come across the concept actually.
sorry, Vinith.
I did not come across this concept in previous like lectures
So,
that I heard.
yeah, it's not, exaggerating, right? Myself here, anywhere in the internet, any trainer, right? You will go and check with them, right? No one will explain. Actually, if we explain this kind of concept in the first class itself, right? People never like it and people will leave. They won't, come for the classes. They tell that, right? We are teaching some, unnecessary things. Okay, but I want my people, right? I'm believing this right from last 13 years. When I teach Java, in Java also the same thing is there. I will teach it. I want my people to understand it, because you are learning an object oriented programming language, right? You should know what is objects.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
get it.
without learning object, right, we should not learn things. What is object? Who will create object? Where object will be created? Right, where object will
Yes.
be created, how data will be accessed from the object. Because from today onwards until end of the Python course, right, even in Django framework also we will create objects. In core and advanced Python we will create objects. The entire web application is working based on the object, right? That's where I'm intentionally taking this much amount of time and I'm explaining right things here. Okay,
Okay.
good, very good,
Yeah.
right?
Got
So any data in Python. Okay, so this side you will create a variable, right? So variable equals to this side you will store what data. Which data? Any data that is supported by Python, that will be converted into what? Zeros and ones. And whose name memory will be reserved in terms of zeros and ones, and the name of variable. Why? We need to access that data on the name of the variable. Okay, in the program, x is a variable, but within the computer memory, x and y are called as what? Reference variables or object names. Here, x
Okay,
and y
so
are
it will
called
not,
as what? Tell me.
yeah, it will not consider as like binary digit. It will not consider as a string, and it will not calculate as like 11001, something like that, right? It only consider as a variable, and it allocates memory for the value inside it, right?
Computer, for sake of execution, it converts into zeros and ones. It will accept
So
25 and convert into zeros and ones. When it is going to, after execution, when it is going to display output to us, right, again it will be given to us in the form of a number.
yeah, but
Because
what about if this x? X will be stored as x only, right? Not in binary terms, right?
no, x is a name, right? It is called as,
Okay,
right,
okay, okay,
reference variable.
gotcha.
Reference variable, or this can also be called as what? Object name. Okay, reference variable or object name. Okay, good. So, how functions will access data from the computer memory? Through the reference variable or through the object name, functions will accept the data. So, within the function, right, here print x, right, here x is a reference variable, here y is a reference variable, here g is a reference variable. So print is accessing data from, not from the program. You may see that print x, right? You are saying that x equals 20, right? Print x. Oh, my print is accessing this 25. No, no. From where print will access data? From the computer memory it will access. How to believe, sir? How can I believe your words? Means when you write this program, you will give this program to the Python virtual machine to execute. So whenever Python virtual machine will start executing this abc.py, it will load the data of your variables x equals to 25, y equals 30, z equals to 2.3 into the right right RAM memory where Python virtual machine is running. This process will happen Python individual program. Let us say it is abc.py. right? It will load it, right? In that abc.py, what will be there? Variables are there. So here x equals to how much? 25, na? Y equals to how much? 30, right? G equals to how much? Some 2.3, like this. Yes. So now it converts 25 into zeros and ones, right? 30 into zeros and ones, 2.3 into zeros and ones. And how many binary bits will come? That amount of memory will be allocated on the name of the variable. So within the computer memory will be reserved for, right, your variables, right? Right, memory will be reserved for your variables on the variable name. Okay, so in a flight, one ticket number will be given to you. So will your name change there? So if you are assigned to a particular ticket which is connected to a particular seat in flight, will your name change? No, right? Your name always will reserve. Actually, the ticket was reserved for whom? For Vinith, for Jagadish, right? For Ashim, right? But in flight terminology, they don't know who is Jagadish, who is Ashim, who is Vinith. They know their ticket names. The ticket name, they will, once you entered into the flight until you leaves the flight, right, they will handle through the your ticket name. So they will give an announcement, right? If anything need to be conveyed to you, right, they will say your ticket name. So the passenger with the so and so ticket is, right, need to report at the, report at the inquiry center. So like that they will report us, right? But that ticket name is allocated for what? Imagine the ticket is nothing but zeros and ones. That is allocated for what? Vinith X. The ticket name is what? Ticket number is what? 1111, right? 10. That is allocated for what? Asham. Okay, very good. So in computer memory, right? Python virtual machine will allocate memory for variables, right? Right. Computer will allocate, Python virtual machine will allocate memory for the data related to our variables through the, right, reference variables. So x, right, x, right, on the name of x, these 5 bits of memory, on the name of y, the 5 bits of memory will be allocated. Okay, so this memory allocation is called as what? Object or instance. And we will access this, right, we will access this object or instance through the, right, through the variable name, which is called as what? Reference variable or object name. You know, yesterday I told you one important thing. What was that? Python is very strict about memory management. Python is very strict about what? Memory management. See, if 25 is there, how many binary bits of memory it is allocating? 5 bits. So if we convert a given number into zeros and ones, how many binary bits will come? Those many binary bits only it will allocate. There will be no memory wastage here. If 7 bits will come, it will allocate 7 bits. If 8 bits will come, it will allocate only 8 bits. If 10 bits will come, it will allocate only 10 bits. But when we comes to Java, what is the problem in Java? To store any value between minus 128 to plus 127, they will allocate what? 1 byte of memory. 1 byte of memory means what? 8 bits, right? To store any value between minus 100 and, in Java they divided integer numbers into ranges. So the minimum range is what? Minus 128 to plus 127. To store any value within the range, right, they will allocate how many bits? 8 bits. But see, in case of 25, how many bits are required? Only 5 bits are required. But how much they are allocating? 8 bits they are allocating. Your number is going to consume only 5 bits. The other 3 bits will be wasted, right? Other 3 bits of memory will be wasted. This is not the case with what? This byte range values. There is another thing called short range values. So bigger, right? Some more, right, bigger than this. For example, to store any value from minus 32,768 to plus 32,767, we will, right, we will allocate how many binary bits in Java? Here 2 bytes equals to 32 bits. If that number occupy 20, for example, a number is there that need only 20 bits, but it will allocate 32 bits. Okay, it will allocate what? 32 bits. So memory will be wasted. A classroom is there, right? That classroom is constructed for letting to sit what 20 people, but there are only 3 people in the class, so remaining 7 seats will be wasted. That is in case of Java. But when comes to Python, right, when comes to Python, right, it's not like that. We can shrink the room size for only 3 people, right? We can shrink the, right, we can adjust the room size to sit only for 3 people. If there are 3 people, we can adjust it. So that's what how memory, right, management will be done in Python. Right, memory management will be done in Python programming language. Okay, so here if 5 bits are required, 5 bits only allocated. If it is Java, any value between this range, right, must and should occupy only 8 bits. If that number is taking 1 bit also, 8 bits will be allocated. If it is taking 2 bits also, right, 8 bits will be given. So thus memory will be wasted in Java. In C++, more wastage is there. In C, again more wastage is there. So in C language, there is more amount of memory wastage that will be addressed. Some part of it will be addressed in C++. Still in C++, there is some memory wastage that is addressed in Java. Little bit it is addressed in Java. But still in Java, memory wastage is that is totally addressed in Python. Okay, that's totally addressed in Python programming language. Okay, fine. So you are believing that a computer will reserve memory for the variable set unique locations, right? That location is called as what? Address. This is how exactly your houses were located at one unique addresses. Can we see the address of that right address at which memory was reserved for the variables? Yes, you can see. So if you say id of y, id is what? It's a built-in function. Okay, id is a built-in function. Id means what? Identity. Id means what? Identity. So id function will access data from the computer memory where memory was reserved for x. So right, this will give you the address at which address memory was reserved for your variable x, at which address memory was reserved for variable y. So that will be right given by the id functions. Okay, so now let's go back to the programming part and let's prove at which address memory was reserved for the x, at which address memory was reserved for the y, at which address memory was reserved for g, right? Let's see that now. Okay, so here object means it's a memory allocation for storing data related to variables of the program at runtime or execution time. See, when this object will be created, whenever you request Python virtual machine to execute your Python program, then only Python virtual machine will load data of your variables from hard disk to RAM where Python virtual machine is running. If you don't ask Python virtual machine to execute, it will never load. Okay, that's where it is called as a dynamic memory, right? That's where it is called as a dynamic memory allocation. Look at this thing, yes. Okay, right, kids. So you know who is creating these objects? Python virtual machine is creating these objects. Where Python virtual machine is creating within the RAM memory. How? Some of RAM memory was given to Python virtual machine, right? So Python virtual machine, right, some of RAM memory around 1 GB was given to Python virtual machine, right? So within the Python virtual machine, within the Python virtual machine, right, it is maintaining some 1 GB data, right? That is a space. Within that space, at different addresses, memory will be reserved on the name of x, on the name of y, on the name of z. Tomorrow, if there are 100 variables in your program, for 100 variables, memory will be reserved at 100 unique locations. Okay, 100 unique locations. Okay, let me tell you a small scenario before leaving from here. You know, imagine this is ATM application. Okay, right, 500 GB is required. That's where we kept it in the hard disk. But who has to run it? Whether it is a small scale application or it is a larger scale application, who has to run it? Python virtual machine has to run it. Okay, fine. The first to customer. Okay, here. The first to customer. So first to customer swiped his ATM card. When a first customer swiped his ATM card means first customer is asking Python virtual machine to process his card details. He swiped his card. It will read his card number, write a CVV number, expiry date, name on the card it will read. and in the background it will pull the data from the database or from the hard disk. You can say from the hard disk. It will compare if it is matches. Then, right, if it matches, right, then it will load, right. To compare, what it has to do first, it should load the data from hard disk to RAM where Python virtual machine is running. Once it is loaded, right, once it is loaded, for that loaded data memory allocation is required. Once memory allocation required, then it will start comparing, means then it will start processing the input that is read from the right from the card as input, right. Input data will be compared with what data that is there in the form of object. It will compare it. So once it match, right, then it will start processing, means what functions will start accessing data from the object. Withdrawal service function, balance inquiry service function, fund transfer service function, deposit service function. They will access. Okay, first customer swiped his card, it processed his data. After him, second customer will come. With the Python virtual machine, how much memory is there? Only 1 GB. To store the data of the first customer, imagine 1 GB is allocated. Then second customer will swipe, after the first customer finishes the transaction, then second customer will swipe the card. When second customer swiped the card, already 1 GB is allocated towards the first customer, right? Then when second customer swiped the card, from where this Python virtual machine will bring the memory? With the Python virtual machine, there is only 1 GB. Imagine it allocated 1 GB memory towards loading, towards storing the data of the first customer. Now with the Python virtual, no memory is there. But second customer is, right. Second customer swiped his card. Now how it will manage? Can anyone know about this? That's where,
No.
yeah, that's where our Python virtual machine will come up with inbuilt garbage collector. Inbuilt garbage collector. See, every day some garbage will be stored, right? Will be, right, will be prepared in our house. So, right, one municipal vehicle will come, will collect it every day. In the similar way here, whenever you request Python virtual machine to process data of the first ATM customer, it will load data from hard disk to RAM where Python virtual machine is running. Once data loaded, for that it will allocate, right, required amount of memory. Once that customer finished his transaction, means your session will be closed with the application. Every web application will have a session management. Every customer, what is the session? Whenever you swipe your card, means your session will start. When your session will end, the moment when you finished withdrawal. But after finishing withdrawal, it will ask you, right, do you want to go for one more transaction? So what you will say? No. When you say no, means your session is closed. So whenever your session is closed, that will be notified to the Python virtual machine. When Python virtual machine is realized that the session of so and so customer, first customer is closed, right? Immediately it will destroy the data that is loaded. It immediately will destroy the data that is loaded towards the first customer. When data removed, right, what will happen again? Data will be refreshed back to Python virtual machine again. So by the time second customer is going to swipe his card with the Python virtual machine, how much memory will be there? 1 GB will be there. It is exactly like you will go to your office with some water bottle, right, every day. So you will drink water, and again bottle will be empty. Tomorrow you will come back to home, you will refill it with water. Again you will go to office, right? You will drink the water, again you will empty the bottle. So this is what happening with the Python virtual machine. So that is possible because of inbuilt garbage collector support. Right, Python will do that with the help of what? Garbage collector support. Sir, how this garbage collector will comes into our computer, sir? Along with the Python software. You are installing Python software into your computer means what? Right, along with your Python software, right, along with Python virtual machine interpreter, garbage collector also will come and sit here. Like this, there are so many things that will come along with, right, Python virtual machine interpreter and garbage collector. We need to load our program, right? For loading sake, it will take one loader also. Python virtual machine come along with one loader. That loader will load our class, right? Our program from where? From hard disk to RAM, where Python virtual machine is running. Whenever you request Python virtual machine to process that program. which program you will request Python virtual machine. Python virtual machine will load only that program. So in that program, how many variables are there, right? For related to all those variables, it converts, right, data that is stored through the variable into zeros and ones. For all of them, it will allocate memory at different locations, and from that our functions will start accessing data. Once our session is over, that will be notified to the Python virtual machine. Immediately Python virtual machine will alert the garbage collector that will come, that will arrange that loaded data towards the first customer, so that again memory will be refreshed back to Python virtual machine. On this principle, our ATM, Gmail, right, Amazon, Instagram, right, everything is working. Okay, so I hope you're all clear about it, right? And a computer memory always will be happened at what different unique locations. So how, if the in a city, if there are 1,000 homes, right, 1,000 homes will be located at 1,000 unique locations. Who will give unique locations? Or Python virtual machine will give unique locations. Tomorrow, if anyone asks you who will create object in Python, what you have to say? Python virtual machine will create object. Where Python virtual machine will create object? Within the computer RAM memory, it will create objects, right? It will create object. At what time Python virtual machine will create object? At runtime or execution time, it will create objects, right? Object means what? It's a memory allocation for, right, memory allocation for data related to a variable that is created inside a program, right? That is created inside a program. How functions will access data from the, how functions will access data from the computer memory? Through the reference variable. What is the variable? Name of a variable will start acting as a reference variable or object name. Okay, reference variable. So print x. So that print is accessing what? Reference variable. Right. Y print y, right? Y is accessing what? Y is what? Reference variable. Right. From where it is coming? From the computer. So here print x, print y, print g. That print function is accessing data from the computer memory it is accessing. Okay. Good. So please take this picture.
Excuse me, Sudhakar.
Please, please. Yes.
So, do you think is there any scenario where it's gonna be too much for the garbage collector to process the information?
Oh, you mean right? You mean right? Is there any scenario where garbage collector will fail? Right? Will
Yeah,
fail, right?
since
Right.
our main
Yeah.
GB is
Ah,
full.
very good.
Yeah,
Very good. Your good name, please. Your Ashim
Jagdish.
Jagadish, right? Ah, okay, yeah, Jagadish. Jagadish, if garbage collector is not going to work, so what is the situation? Memory will never be deallocated, right? Memory will never be deallocated. If memory is not deallocated, right, it is not going to let further people, right? Because if memory is not deallocated, Python should not ask for more than 1 GB, because the total RAM capacity is only 1 GB. So that 1 GB out of the total RAM memory is 2 GB. Out of 2 GB, 1 GB was given for operating system related data, to manage operating related data. The other GB is given to Python, right? Python virtual machine should not ask for that. So means our garbage collector must and should work very attentively, right? This should work very attentively. If it is not going to work, right, immediately you will get an error called memory overflow. If you learn a programming language earlier, right, so you might heard about a runtime error called memory overflow will happen, or out of memory. Okay, memory overflow or out of memory. Yes, it's better to say out of memory. So anyone, Vinith, anyone experienced this error? Out of memory or memory overflow, that kind of errors anyone experienced, right? So you are seeing that
Some,
error, you are seeing that error means what? Your garbage collector is not working properly. Okay,
yeah,
that's where,
sometimes it happens like when we run the code, it will not run properly. Maybe because of
yes,
out of memory.
yeah, yeah. So in that case, this will happen, right? That
Okay.
software people will fix this issue. Jagadish, are you clear now?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jagadish. Right. Yeah, please take this picture. Take, it will be like a running notes for you, right? That's where I'm intentionally, right, so telling to take screenshots, right? Because these are the online classes, right? Okay, so I want to make it a more interactive. Tomorrow, right, when you look at these things, right, you're able to, right, understand it. Okay, done. Control S. Yes, right. Okay, so now we are eligible to start what programming part now. Yeah, see, to practice Python programs, right? To practice Python programs, uh, we will take help of IDEs. IDE means what? Integrated Development Environment. Integrated Development Environment. So means what? This IDE will integrate the entire environment to required, right? To required what? To edit a program. To edit a program, whatever environment is required, this ID will give us. To compile a program, next to execute a program. Very good. So in any programming language, what are the things we need to do? First, we have to write the program. Editing a program is nothing but writing a program. Next one is what? Compiling a program. Next one is what? Executing a program. Right. So these three things will be, these three things are going to happen in the life of every program. So to do these three things, some environment is required. That will be, all environment will be but integrated into something called what? IDE. So there are so many built-in IDEs available in the market for us to practice what? Python programs. So one of them is PyCharm IDE. One of them is PyCharm IDE. The second one is, right, one of them is PyCharm IDE, and the second one is, um, there is something called Thorny IDE, but there is something called Jupyter Notebook. Okay, there is something called Jupyter Notebook IDE. There is something called IntelliJ, but there is something called Eclipse. This Eclipse is very famous in case of Java. So software companies will recommend people to go with what? Eclipse IDE. And there is something called Visual Studio Code. Yes. So Visual Studio Code and, yeah, Jupyter, IntelliJ, PyCharm ID, right? Visual Studio Code. These are all famous things. But software companies are recommending to go with what? Most of the software companies are recommending PyCharm ID and Jupyter Notebook in real-time scenarios. So in our course also we are going to start with this PyCharm ID. Just we can download it from the internet, right? It is a open source. It will available for us for free of cost. Okay, so we need to install, right? So for until 20-25 hours we will go with this PyCharm ID. After that we will go with what? This Jupyter Notebook. Okay, to practice the programs. So to do these three things, whatever environment is required, all those things will be integrated together. So here some of you may get some doubts. Sir, what is this compiling a program? Python virtual machine will execute it. Python virtual machine will execute it. Then who will compile the program? Who will compile the program? As I told you, as a programmer, you're writing source code, right? The code written by the programmer is called as what? So you are see source code, yes. As a programmer, you're writing the source code in which language? High level code. So this high level code will be given to Python compiler. So it converts this high level code into what? Some middle level code which is called as byte code. This is what? Some middle level code. Okay, middle level or machine code. This can also be called as what? Machine code. A machine only can understand this byte code. Which machine? Python virtual machine only can understand this code. That's what it is called as a machine code. So this will be given to whom? Python virtual machine along with what? Interpreter. Along with interpreter. So this converts into what? Executable code, which is nothing but what? Zeros and ones, right? And this will be accepted by operating system. Yeah, this will be accepted by the computer along with operating system, right? Process it and produce the outputs. That's it. Okay, so this will happen, right? So source code, which is high level code, right? And here executable code means what? Low level code, right? Zeros and ones. So we have high level code, we have middle level code, we have low level code. So to convert high level code into low level code, we are taking help of Python compiler and we are taking help of what? Python virtual machine along with the interpreter. Okay, right. So to compile a program, some environment is required. To execute a program, some environment is required. That all environment is right integrated into a single IDE called PyCharm, Thorny, Jupyter Notebook, IntelliJ, Eclipse, Visual Studio Code, IDE, etc. So now we are going to start with what? This PyCharm IDE. Okay, good. So it's there. Sir, if you want to install it, right? I will show you tomorrow. If anyone try to install, if it is already there in your computer, no problem. If it is not there, see here. There are two versions will available for us, right? PyCharm Community Edition we have to download. Okay, PyCharm Community Edition. Professional Edition is there, right? If you install it, right, it will stay in your computer for only 1 month. After 1 month, it will disappear. It won't start working after 1 month. So if you go for Community Edition, right, this is a open source. It will available for us free of cost. And if you install it once in your computer, it will be there in our computer forever. Okay, so you need to install this one. So let's click on it. See, this is what is this? PyCharm Professional, all right? We should not do this. So scroll down here. PyCharm Community Edition is the right, the IDE for pure Python development, right? We need to use this. Okay, we need to use this. And one more thing, yeah, 1 minute. I'm trying to show you. Yes, no, not this one. See, a Python developer can work as a software developer, right? Or you can work as a web developer, you can work as a data analyst, you can work as a data scientist, you can work as a automation tester, or engineer, right, who specializes in machine learning, or an engineer who specializes in artificial intelligence. See the areas, in how many areas, right? you can write, you are allowed to work. These are all the areas, right, where we can get the positions, right, to work in future after learning this course. So to link web programs to services and other backend resources, right? Yeah, here. Where is it? Yes, see. Specializes in machine learning or an engineer who specializes in artificial intelligence. And they didn't mention data science here. Yeah, data scientist, here it is, right? So if you know Python, right, you can start work as, right, data scientist. You can try automation tester engineer. This is the uh, you know automation tester, right? Mm, here we will get less pay, right? Less salaries here. If you want to settle yourself as a automation, tester, right, or testing engineer, right? This is a low scale jobs actually. So except this, right, remaining all things are right. What are the role of the automation testers? As a Python program, we will develop your application, right? That will be tested by the automation testers. These people will test it. Like, for example, ATM pin number is there. So how many digits ATM pin number should accept according to Indian, right? According to Indian ATM, right? According to Indian ATM machine rules, right? It should accept only 4 digits. So you will develop in your application ATM pin number and tester will test it. It is accept, right? It is taking only 4 digits or it is taking anything other than. If you give one digit, tester will give 1 digit and test whether it is accepting or not. They will give 2 digits. They will give 3 digits. They will give 5 digits. They will give 6 digits. So all possibilities they will check. So the tester job is to what? To test, right? Except to 4 digits, right? Except to 4 digits, right? Is it accepting anything? If we give any character, will it accept? If it is accepting 1 digit, immediately the problem will be reported to the developer who developed it. So as a developer, you are developing it, right? Right, your code will be sent to the testers. So they will test it. Okay, they will test it. If it is taking other than 4 integer digits, right, immediately they will report that problem to you. So right, the problem will be reported to the developer who developed it. Sir, how? Right, how tester will know that who developed it? At the time of developing the program, on top of it, you have to mention your name. So the developer name, who is writing that program, his name will be represented there. You know, I will teach you all coding standards when once we are enter into the subject, right? I will teach you, right, all coding standards. So when you are writing a code, right, what are your responsibilities, right? So what you have to do when you are start writing a program, right, as a programmer, right, which rules you need to follow to start writing a program, right? All those things I will explain you, right, once we enter into the programming part. Okay, so that is the role of it, right? But these are the lesser scale, right, jobs. Developer job always is a high paying, right? High paying jobs. Okay, but after that, once you work some years, right, around some 3 4 years as a software developer, right, then you can switch on to, like, data scientist role if there are high salaries in that, or right in machine learning side or in artificial intelligence, right, you can go, right. And I'm looking for something. I want to see you, right, in which areas, right? What is the position of Python in application development? I want to show you. Oh no. Okay, no, I forgot it actually. Tomorrow I will show you that. They will show us, right, the list, right. So what is the top most right, trending language nowadays in the market? Next one, next one, next one, next one, right? Like that they will give you, right, right, there are 3 to 4 companies, right, they will right, conduct, right, survey on each programming language. They will approach, right, all software companies in the world, and they will take opinion of that software company. So nowadays, right, which programming language they are using to develop their applications, right, in their company application development, right, like that they will inquire all software companies in the world, right. So with that, they will prepare one report. So in that report, if you look at report prepared by any survey company, right, we will see Python as a topmost, or right, in the top place, in the first place, or in the second place, or in some companies in the third place, we will see. So Python is trying to, right, stay always in the position number 1 or position number 2, in some exceptional cases position number 3. So earlier, around some 8 9 years before, right, Java is there in top list. Okay, so nowadays Python is trying to give, right, a tough competition for the Java, right, to overcome that. And Java people are not sitting idle, right? Still they are doing, right. They are coming up, right, with the problems, right, what they have in their application development now, right. They are trying to overcome it, right. If that is done, right, we don't know what will happen in future. Okay, so the share will be given to, right, to p, right, Java and Python may be equally. But when compared with, when it comes to the lines of code in Python, it is very less lines, right? So definitely one day Python will, right, cross, right, the Java programming language. Okay, right. So we need to start, right, programming parts. But time is up, right? Okay, time is up. We'll see it in tomorrow class. Okay, we'll see it in tomorrow class. Before leaving, right, I want to tell you a small thing. Actually, with us, right, here, Pramod, Vinit, Ashim, and Jagadish, right, 4 people are there, right? With us, 8 more people also need to join, actually. Okay, but they are also working people, right? They said that they are going to available, but due to some issues, right, they were unable to join with us. So tomorrow it will be finalized. Okay, once it is finalized, then we will decide whether we need to go with the Python as a first, right, the first thing we need to start with, our database or web technology, right, whatever it is, right, we will decide it. Okay, right. Thank you, class done for today.
Thank you.
In tomorrow class we'll see the rest of the things.
Thank you.
Hmm? Thank you, Jagadish. Thank you, Pramod, Vinith,
Thank
Ashim.
you.
Thank you, thanks for your time. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, Sudhakar, I have one small question.
Please tell
Will
me.
you also work on some APIs? So the thing is, like, I recently got an interview regarding migration script developer. So I missed it actually.
um,
So
uh,
will you work on that too?
Vinith, it's not working on it, but I will show you. I will show you some scenarios, right, where APIs
Okay,
will comes into picture. When we
okay, okay,
started working with the Django framework, right? So there,
okay,
we will be exposed into, right, some APIs,
okay,
because wherever web application development is there, their API must and should be there on top of it. We will take
okay,
help of, right, API, and by looking into that API, our project requirement, right, our project requirement specification will be implemented with the help of that API. Okay, so
okay.
definitely we will get chance to, right, look into that. Okay, so don't worry, we will
Got
see that also.
okay. Sure.
Hmm? Right, thank you,
Yeah.
right.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you, bye.
Sudhakar.
Yeah, thank you,
Bye.
bye. Yes, yeah.